Today's episode is brought to you by the Vegas Beer Guys and the Sounds in Cinema podcast.
Everything sequel contains explicit language. And why the fudge not, you melon farmer?
Hello and welcome to the Everything Sequel podcast. This is the Terminator edition. Today is Terminator Salvation. My name is Michael Shantz of the How Dare You Awards. Joining me, the Terminator savant himself, Tom Stewart of Lonesome Whistle Productions. Hello, Tom.
There's nothing on that tape about machines with organs.
Oh my god, I don't even remember that line.
To be fair, John, that's a very specific subject for your mother to anticipate you having to handle in the future. I just want to say something up top.
Yes, go.
Right, this is not the How Dare You podcast, despite what our idents occasionally say.
Right.
But this is very much a How Dare You film. And, you know, we don't traditionally review...
Except it's not even fun enough, almost, you know? You wish that a How Dare You movie would at least be a little funner, but...
I'm sure Lady Chu would disagree with that last statement. That fun is a prerequisite of that podcast. I don't think she feels the same way as you, Mike.
You're right.
And, you know, we don't traditionally use the grievance positive point format, and, you know... There's no calculator with enough battery to calculate how many grievances I have against this movie.
Right.
But I can tell you I have exactly 2 positive points that I want to get out of the way now, so I can go on a full-blown tirade against this movie.
Excellent.
I don't want goodwill contaminating how I talk about this movie, is basically what I'm saying. So here are my 2 positive points.
All right.
The first one is, I'm going to go in chronological order. And by the way, they're all reaches. Just putting that out there. The first one is there's a truck chase about midway through the movie, which gives us a few minutes of perfectly fine filmmaking. I mean, you know, until a cavalcade of comedic errors befalls the machines and it ruins it all again.
Okay,
but we get a clear few minutes of this is okay. And the other one is that the digital rendering of a Terminator is better in this movie than it was in the last one. But you see, even with that, I want to immediately counterpoint that Terminator 3: Rise of the Machines is a movie. And that's the difference.
What is this in your mind?
This?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like, if it's not a movie, what is it?
It's... if it's different stages of the movie.
Because you're right, it is so formless.
That's the word. That is the exact word. And I feel different. I feel it leans towards different kinds of media at different points in the movie and in the screenplay. I'd say, based on the credit sequence, I would have said that this is an Asylum plagiarization of a Terminator movie. Until the moment that I saw how many stars were involved in this movie, both on and off screen,
right.
I would have said that this was a direct-to-video, illegal, pirated version of a Terminator property.
Well, it should be said that the one thing I think is remembered about this movie more than anything is the tirade that Christian Bale went on against a crew member.
And
so that says something about your movie when that's the only thing that people remember about your movie.
And yeah, that is definitely the most fascinating aspect of this movie, and possibly the only...
I think there's one other thing that's fascinating.
Well, let me say, like, the one of the only satisfying... one of the only kind of satisfying qualities of watching Terminator Salvation for me, a movie which I have conspicuously avoided for decades now,
Oh,
for
wow.
a decade now, was that I was able to put that tirade in a entirely plausible context.
Sure.
I mean, yeah, I would have killed someone. So I think Christian Bale showed amazing restraint after having seen this movie. But I mean, just like as I remember, he was caught. He was caught on audio in a tirade against the cinematographer who was in his eye line. Is that correct?
I want to say he was actively moving a light or something too.
Right. Now, that does not surprise me because at any given point in this movie, the camera is either strapped to Christian Bale or it is inches away from his face. So, of course, there's crew in his eye line.
Yeah, right.
They have no choice. He has
You know
no
what
choice.
it probably was?
I blame McGee.
Yeah, exactly.
Again, I blame McGee for all of this.
It was probably one of the few shots where the camera wasn't inches away from his face and he was really looking forward to it. And so when somebody moved in his sight line, he went berserk.
Or he didn't know what, because the camera wasn't attached to him, he didn't know what to do and he freaked out.
Yeah.
He was like, what do I do now the camera is at a normal distance from my face?
All right. So, if you haven't guessed, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about Terminator Salvation, the 2009 movie directed by McG. Whose name is what, Tom?
Joseph McGinty Nicol.
Thank you.
But I don't want to I don't want to spoil my credit check. It may possibly be the highlight of this podcast. But there is also a man on this. Before I found out his name was Joseph McGinty Nicol, there's a man working on this movie called Brian McGee. And I before I knew that, I thought, is that McGee? Is that McGee? Is McGee Brian McGee?
Yeah.
And
That's great.
Brian McGee is, of course, the name of Homer's fake ID alias from The Simpsons. My name was Brian McGee. I stayed up listening to Queen when I was 17.
Well, McG himself has directed a movie that garnered 33% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is not the low watermark for the series, by the way.
Whoa. Back it up. Beep, beep, beep. What's the percentage
33.
on Rotten Tomatoes for this? 33.
Yeah.
3 is high.
Right.
33%
Liked it.
Wow. Are you sure? I'm seriously thinking people think this is that Asylum movie, The Terminators. Because I can see how 33% of people would like that piece of crap.
Well, I mean, so...
Because that came out the same year, incidentally.
Right, yeah. I mean, we're talking about a budget of $200 million. It did have an opening weekend of 42.5, which to me shows, after Terminator 3, by the way, we were ready for like a rebranding. But from 42.5 on opening weekend, only gathered 125.3 in the USA, $75 million short of its budget. But the world does seem to always pick up the beleaguered action movies that have fallen to their knees in America. It garnered $371.3 million worldwide.
I'd like to think because conceptually the Terminator franchise is based on Chris Marker's La Jetée, but I don't think that's necessarily the case.
Well, McG, he kind of came onto the scene, right, with Charlie's Angels, and he did its sequel, Charlie's Angels Full Throttle. We Are Marshall, This Means War, which I've done on the other podcast, by the way, and 3 Days to Kill.
You're 2 testicles deep in McG.
Yeah, too many.
2 low-hanging testicles.
All right, so here's my question for you. This movie manages to piss me off right away because
Yes.
do you think this movie kind of presents itself as though it's a prequel, which it can't possibly be because it takes place in the future from the narrative we've ever seen?
I wish I didn't have to fight you on that, but I do. I think in this, because of the unusual way that time works in this franchise, that this and this property alone, you can have a prequel and a sequel at the same time.
Yeah. It's very strange.
And that's fine. And if they'd have stuck with that, I think it could have.
Well, that's the interesting thing was I thought this was going to be the beginning of what we were going to see in Terminator movies from now on. I thought we were going to stay in the future forever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's what this movie wanted to do. But as previously stated, it's just done so poorly. My other question is, you read this script, how did so many talented people say yes? I don't get it.
Yeah. I don't know. I really don't know.
There's no rising action.
I guess because
you know what I mean. Like I guess
it's a Terminator movie. I mean, if I was in their position, I would probably want to be in a Terminator movie.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I would assume McG was the name of the production company, not a person directing the movie.
Right.
That's my first note. Is this an entity or a human being when McG comes up? A McG film tells me nothing.
Well, and I think you're on my side. My first note is terrible opening credits.
Yeah. Literally
Followed
seconds
by
of this movie.
jail nonsense is what I wrote.
Literally seconds of this movie has passed before it is incomprehensible and inept. Right?
Oh, I don't disagree. No, yeah.
I mean, there's already alarm bells because the graphics look so cheap.
Yeah.
And then you see the names of, some of the biggest actors of the time, people like Danny Elfman doing the score, and you're like, okay, so it's not a direct-to-video movie. That's what it looks like, but McG obviously has some famous friends, whoever or whatever that is. But what the real, the real sort of alarm cowbell, because there's already been a lot of alarm bells for me, is the fundamental lack of exposition.
Right.
In our cold open. When and where are we? Who are these people? What is their relationship?
What are they? Yeah, exactly. What is their relationship to each other? Why are we watching them?
And that's beside.
And it's not something you're going to find out until the last 7 minutes of the movie.
With nothing gained from holding back.
Right.
That's the thing that baffles me. And, this is beside the fact that you can't actually hear the dialogue. Everything is, even for whispers, it's too low.
Right.
Between Sam Worthington and Helena Bonham Carter. I mean, the titles as a whole, as a concept, are completely ineptly handled. Okay,
mm-hmm.
we have doubles, we have duplicates of everything. Two different sets,
right.
Two different sets of titles. Okay, and then they try and do the kind of Batman logo reveal, which McG doesn't seem to understand is only a surprise when you've not seen the title and you don't know you're inside the title. But we already know we're inside the title and we've already seen the title by this point. He gives himself a second credit after Sam Worthington's execution as well.
Yeah.
Which does not surprise me, but is, also gestures to his inability to handle film language. And then we have an opening crawl after a cold open and the titles. Which,
Right.
by the way, is scrolled through too quickly for me to see what is happening. Like, what is there. And then, at the end of it all, just to sort of add insult to injury, we have a single date, 2018, in red on screen. Because that's all you need.
Right.
All that information could have been represented by that one
that
image.
date.
And then we get the second McG film. So
Yeah, I wrote McG title card.
It's
Like, just seeing,
it's
just
all kinds of
seeing
incompetence
McG,
in every technical element of filmmaking.
right.
Right.
Just seeing McG on the screen does not fill you with confidence.
Yeah. And listen, I know it doesn't sound like it, but I kept an open mind here.
But
there's nothing
and
to
you had
inspire,
not
there's
seen
nothing
it.
to inspire confidence in you in those first 5 seconds of the movie,
Right.
when you want to at least know you're in some kind of safe hands.
Well,
and
because
this tells you the opposite.
I mean, shortly after all of that, you get into after the date is shown, and all of a sudden you're seeing force zooms into choppers.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, like, my note was, this is my least favorite kind of filmmaking.
Which part?
No,
you need to be more specific. So, we got a mise en scène this, Mike. I can't. You can't be that general. Normally you can. Normally I'd know exactly what you're talking about. Here, there's literally hundreds of options of what you could.
That's
be talking
true.
about.
I mean, the one I wrote down was the forced zoom, but then when you have naked Sam Worthington mud screaming, I wrote.
Right.
I thought,
my
like, why'd you make him do that? What is, like, no actor can overcome what you're asking them to do.
Yeah.
Because it's that absurd.
My speculation is that McG had a storyboard grid on which he wrote, across all the lines, war movie shit.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
And that's what they put on screen.
I guess what offended me most was it seemed like in his mind he was directing his Robert Duvall Apocalypse Now chopper with the surfing scene.
Yeah.
That's what he thought he was giving us.
Well, I think even with that comparison, you're giving him too much credit. Now, if Secret Smart Guy Sylvester Stallone had done that, I would have gone. He's thinking about Apocalypse Now when he's strapped, when the camera is strapped to Christian Bale, he's thinking of Scorsese's Mean Streets. McG is thinking about
like First
Call of
Blood
Duty.
Part 2.
No, he's thinking about Call of Duty or Halo. So first person shooter.
You're right.
Is what he's thinking of.
You're
He's
absolutely
thinking of a
right.
video game.
I think
and
you
it's
hit
sad
the nail on the
sad
head with that.
That's where my brain goes to when I watch what he's done with that concept.
Yeah.
That's him, not me. I'm not shitting on video games. I'm shitting on McG.
You're saying that video games are different than film,
right.
than cinema.
I'm saying that McG has not read a book in his life. That's what I'm saying.
That's amazing.
But I mean, it's all those. It's all those. And there's this. It's wrong. It's conceptually wrong. It's stylistically wrong. It's the least interesting way you can shoot this subject matter.
Mm-hmm.
But there's even like sub mistakes within that. There's like it's so incompetent with lighting.
Yeah.
That even setting off a flare does not improve my ability to see what's on screen.
That's great.
And I have to apologize to Terminator 2 for using the word mawkish.
Thank you.
Because compared to this movie, I think I now have an understand of the excesses of sentimentality in cinema. There is no image there is no image more laughably obvious of blunt cruelty than old lady in a cage.
Yeah, right.
And also, I'm gonna apologize to Terminator 3. I mean,
I'm not.
You should also for other reasons. But I'm gonna say, you know, I said
stand pat on
that
everything I've
possibly
said.
they were too flippant with their mushroom clouds. Here we just like minutes into the movie, we have a mushroom cloud bigger than all
Right.
of them combined
Yes.
in Terminator 3.
You're not wrong.
But even, I mean, given that you know he's latching on to war movie imagery, like it goes back to Rocky 5, and you know, if you're anti-realist in your quest for realism, it's all over.
You're done. Yeah.
Yeah, because the color is so overly grey and muddy. You might as well just make it in Technicolor for as you know, for as realistic.
I was
as
going to
that is.
ask you what you think about that, because specifically, like, one of my notes is this world doesn't match the world we know. But do you give him a break on that? Like, he's allowed to have his own vision, or
no matter how many Terminator skulls
Right.
you see upsided being crushed.
yeah,
Yeah. I know. Yeah, it's like. Yeah, I'm pretty given everything else. I'm pretty neutral on that.
because I think I became neutral as I
Yeah.
thought. I started backing off on my hatred of that, because it also seems like we're in a time that's before what we've seen.
Now that is generous.
Well,
I think that bit is headcanon, and you're a better person than I for even making that leap.
yeah,
Yeah.
because we know that narratively, temporally, everything's fucked up.
Is it though? Nothing's fucked up. This is the same people we saw in the last movie with all the same experiences, but they've all had character lobotomies.
Yeah,
There's Kate and John,
yeah.
Kyle Reese, who we've seen before. I mean, I don't know what happens to him in that, you know, that time machine that turns him from a prepubescent boy into
The warrior. Yeah,
80s action star,
Yeah.
but okay. And it's just a sense of like, it's like, let's just not mention.
but you're right. You're
anything
right
that's
in the
happened
lobotomy
since-
part, because all the characters are present, but you never have a sense as an audience member that you know anything about these people. They're like a blank slate.
There is zero characterization.
Yeah.
Like zero, and that applies to, you know, these legacy characters that we've known since the first Terminator movie, right to, you know, the new incidental characters when they go into submarine headquarters.
Yeah.
Okay, with Michael Ironside. By the way, also has the distinction is he's continuing his streak of only appearing in even-numbered sequels. Highlander 2, Prom Night 2,
All right.
The Next Karate Kid, Terminator Salvation.
Wow. All right.
I got another stat like that for the next movie. Actually, I've got another one here. Anton Yelchin playing... In 2009, he was in 2 different science fiction franchise movies where he played characters iconic characters who had already been played by other actors.
Right. That's right.
But when you get into submarine headquarters, they go from dressing down John Connor,
Yes.
to giving him the key mission.
Right. Right.
With absolutely no explanation as to why they would suddenly trust him.
Well, and what do you make of, because they kind of start at zero with almost every single sequel past 3, there's like a reset. What do you make of this idea of, because all we've been told is that John Connor is the one who brought us out of the dark, brought us out of the darkness, taught us how to smash those metal motherfuckers into nothing. Yeah. And all of a sudden you see him in this movie, and like you said, he's being dressed down. He's the cuckoo bird who has these wild ideas that we're not going to listen to or talk about.
Right.
And I mean, we'll get there in our next movie, but in the next movie, it's reset, and now he is the person. What I'm saying is, in this movie, he's not in charge.
Yeah.
In the next movie, he's in charge, but more of a prophet. He's got these weird ideas.
Yeah.
That seem strangely intuitive.
He likes to shout and scream his dialogue a lot.
Right. But to me, this is why it feels like it's a bit behind the timeline of We Know, because we're setting him specifically in a time where he's not in charge. This is taking place before he is in charge.
Yeah. So it's it speaks to your point about that, they want to have their cake and eat it.
Yeah, exactly.
Sequel. They want it to be an origin story, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but like the first 3/4 of this movie are absolutely terrible, right? But it's a kind of it's a terrible that is of its own design. Like it's idiosyncratically terrible. Like I've never seen another terrible like this.
Right.
But actually the last quarter of the movie is even worse, because you have a capitulation where it's just like every other prequel, every other possible science fiction movie we can think of. So actually, even on the scale of awfulness, this movie disappoints, because the last quarter of the movie is so horribly formulaic.
Mm-hmm.
The first 3/4 isn't. That's a problem too, but it's a different kind of problem.
Yeah, right.
And I'm sort of fascinated by it. Like in the last quarter of the movie, they seem to want this to be pure origin story kind of movie. So it's like, that's how John got his scar, that's how Kyle got his coat. And that kind of comes out of left field. Like, that's not what the rest of the movie, with its 3 independent storylines, none of which have anything to do with each other, is about.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that suddenly it becomes like, it gets very legacy in the last quarter of the movie.
When they were not concerned with legacy at all before that.
No, completely.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So maybe there's a reset there anyway, but it compounds the terribleness in a way that eschews the originality of the first 3/4 terribleness.
All right. Well, that's a good start. Why don't we take a break and then we'll come back? That's almost a half hour worth of first and first mostly thoughts.
And yet we've said everything that needs to be said about this movie.
True.
At this point, but
we'll try to we'll still try to dive deeper.
On a micro level, I've got literally hundreds of things to say.
All right, fine. We'll be right back after this, ladies and gentlemen.
I like to think I know something about beer, but nowadays even I get overwhelmed when confronted by the exhaustive selection of craft beers they have at bars, breweries, and even grocery stores. Back in the day you had 1, maybe 2 craft beers to choose from, and if you were confused, you ordered a Guinness. But in beerstinations like San Diego, the craft beer options lately are in double, sometimes even triple digits. So what's a beer drinker to do? You need what I need, the Vegas Beer Guys. Your beer of choice should be a perfect blend of malt and hops. And so a live show about beer needs that same balance. And the Vegas Beer Guys matches beer expert Dan Aker with self-proclaimed beer novice Stephen J. Weiss. The results are eminently drinkable. They're on Facebook, They're on Instagram. They'll try new beers. They'll tell you about beer. Think of them as your beer Sherpas guiding you up a foamy-headed mountain to reach the peak of your pint. God, I need a beer.
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Tom and I are here discussing Terminator Salvation with red eye laser focus.
There's no discussion. I'm discussing with you how best to shit on this movie. And you're giving me some good pointers. Once again, there's like making me think about this film in an entirely different way that is not improving my opinion of it in...
Yeah, it's kind of like, you know, with a movie like this, you almost have to say, what's the top 5 things you hate about this movie?
Yeah,
you know?
That's it. That's why it's a how dare you movie. You know, you can only think about it in terms of grievances and positive points, and you know, every note I have is a grievance, basically, or a question, or a grievestrin. Hey, you can have that for the How Dare You podcast. Grievestrin. It's a grievance and a question.
Well, I don't even know where to go from here. Like, do we speak narratively? What's happening in our movie?
Yeah, I mean, what stood out to me, and I already alluded to this, is that we sort of... Yeah, I don't know how to quantify this, but the film sort of sets in motion 3 almost independent storylines. One based around Kyle Reese, one based around Sam Worthington, who
we don't know
who or what he is. I mean, the sad thing about that, this is the worst thing about that, is it's guessable what's going on, but the movie refuses to tell us. That's what makes me angry. If it was a twist that it's not the thing I think it is, that's the only way you can validate holding back that information for so long. But it's exactly what you think it is. He's an experimental cyborg. That's it.
Well, and not just that. I mean, I think they show you that moment in the trailer, if I remember correctly.
Oh, believe me, I did not see the trailer.
So,
for this.
as I recall, that moment where Christian Bale undoes his
back.
head chain and he looks down, that's shown to you in the trailer. You know what's funny, too, is I remember seeing the trailer. There was something about the music that made me excited to see this movie. I was ready to see this movie.
You know why that is, right?
I'm insane.
No, Danny Elfman.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I couldn't hum a note of it right now.
No,
but
yeah.
I'm sure, even Danny Elfman on a
bad
day
that preview
could do a catchy little thing.
That trailer was edited really well with that music. That's what I remember.
And clearly not by McGee.
Yeah.
He must have outsourced that.
Yes.
And we'll talk about outsourcing when I get to my credit check.
All right.
But I mean, so these storylines are like, they're in different movies. They're also in different genres.
I mean,
right?
Kyle never even sees John until the last 5 minutes of the movie, right?
It is, but it's even more than that. So there are moments in this movie where literally one storyline is flying past the other.
Yeah.
In a helicopter.
In a chopper, right? Yeah.
They converge briefly and then go their separate ways again.
Yes.
And Sam Worthington keeps going from he like batting balls between the Kyle Reese storyline and the John Connor storyline. But he's in each of them for literally minutes.
Yeah, he's supposed to be the conduit between them, but he never brings them together.
No, he never brings them together. Well, he does. I mean, I guess they get together in the end of the movie, but it has nothing to do with him.
Right.
So, yeah, basically he's failed in his role as conduit. His narrative role as Conduit, he's failed that
and
mission.
narratively, there's to me, there's no reason for Moon Bloodgood to believe in this man, whether he saved her life or not. Because if a robot is specifically designed to infiltrate,
Yeah.
isn't he doing a great job of that?
Yeah. I was kind of really like, I had to keep checking the release date of the movie because, had I not known, I would have assumed that like the whole Sam Worthington storyline, it's like a Last Man on Earth film that's kind of like just slapped onto a Terminator movie. And immediately, in all of those scenes, I was thinking, has Walking Dead come out yet?
Right.
And it's like a year away from airing. So something is in the zeitgeist of this, post-apocalyptic wandering around, bikers trying to steal your stuff. I mean, the comic had been around since 2003, but as we've discussed, McGee has never read a book, not even a graphic novel. So
No.
that's not a possibility.
So it can't be. He can't be.
Yeah.
He can't be borrowing from that.
But it's interesting. That's
I have questions.
That's
Tom.
an entirely different genre of movie.
Right.
Like totally unrelated to Terminator.
I have so many, when we have humans attacking other humans, but I guess, leader or grandma of those humans saying, hey, stop that, that's not who we are. Give them some food. Why would you give them food? And we have this 7-Eleven robot attack. And it's presented by McGee as, check out this cool fucking shit. This arm's going to come in through the top of the building and nobody's going to know what hit them. How did that giant robot approach that building without being seen or heard?
Now you're talking about the Godzilla Terminator, right?
Yeah.
So let's break. There's a new Terminator introduced roughly every 10 minutes in this movie. Okay.
Right.
It's
you
like
have
Gremlins 2.
you have the.
It's like Gremlins 2, the new batch without the intentionality.
At the beginning, you have chubby homeless Terminator with like ripped clothes with the Gatling cannon gun.
Yeah. Well, I've got Robot Snake.
Yes.
I've got Ankle Bike.
So much play given to these water snake Terminators.
Ankle Bike, which was the point of the movie, which I said, did McGee just ask a 12-year-old child what they wanted to see in a Terminator movie? I've got, what's my next one? I've got Airborne Rumba.
Yeah, exactly. That was the next one I was going to say.
Godzilla, and then the Godzilla Machine.
You said the motorbikes? You said the motorbikes?
Yeah, the ankle bikes, yeah. And it's just, so we've got, Skynet has traditionally always been this very specific kind of technology that only has like 2 or 3 manifestations. Mm-hmm. And we've gone from that to this kind of grab bag free-for-all of like anything that's vaguely merchandisable. Right? I mean, that's the way it seems to me. It's like like Gremlins 2,
Yeah.
That great Key and Peele sketch where it's like there must have been
everybody gets to come up with a Terminator.
Come up with your own Terminator.
Yeah.
It's got to be. There's no other way to think about it. And that's not even getting into...
Well, it seems like the only note that McGee gave was, make it cool, bros. Make it cool.
And
of course, miserably failing in that.
And when we eventually see, let's not talk about Digiani yet. Let's just save that.
Oh yeah, we're saving that. Come on.
Yeah.
We're not there yet.
But I do want. But we get the traditional Terminator body, but customized in the like accessorized. I'd even go so far as to say in the douchiest way possible. There's a Terminator with a bandana in this movie.
Right.
And then later on, one of them wears a coat of molten metal like it's a hoodie. So, he may have skimped on his storyboard, but I tell you, there was like fashion designers in there creating look boards for these Terminators.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I don't know where that, but it's just, it's insane, and we're not that far in the movie, and we've seen at least 6 different kinds of
Terminators.
Skynet
Bots.
Skynet tech.
Yeah.
I mean, again, if I was being generous, I'd say that the last movie sort of, and Terminator 2 and 3 did this whole thing of kind of animalizing the Terminator, and that this movie's picking up on.
Yes, right.
Taking it in a direction that no human would do. I don't think McGee's a person. I think he's like an algorithm or something.
I was just gonna say.
I think he's genus-wise.
Right.
We solved it. He's genus-wise.
He's genus-wise.
He's Matthew Smith.
Well, and I mean, part of my problem is you have these disparate stories that don't ever connect in a satisfying way. And yet, each one of those stories on their own are also uninteresting.
Absolutely, they literally never go anywhere.
Yeah,
geographically or narratively.
Right.
John doesn't seem to move for about a good 50 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
He's just sat there in his. Well, I guess we have to talk about this. Linda. In his bunker with I guess Kate. There's nothing.
Well,
I mean, I had to check IMDb.
Yeah, there's
to make
no
sure
evidence
that was still Claire Danes' character,
right?
And it is, but there's no sense beyond her name being Kate that's the same character we know through the last movie with,
right?
But then, there's no sense that Christian Bale is in any conceivable way John Connor, this guy we've known for 2 movies. But anyway, so Linda Hamilton, in the last movie, she was turned into a box of shrapnel. In this movie, she's resurrected as a sequel convention.
Yeah.
So she's a voice on a tape and a photograph. And this is actually Linda Hamilton's voice.
It is her voice, and it is different recordings than the recordings we already know, because they're saying that what happened in Terminator 2 altered the timeline.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's why they're a little bit different.
I see.
But it's hard to pick that out within the narrative of this film.
With organs.
It's
nothing about machines with organs.
Right. And it's funny, intellectually you can put your head around this idea of the things that happen in Terminator 2 altering the timeline and pushing it down a bit, where things don't happen quite as quickly. And so that's a narrative reason for her to say something different on the recordings. But when you're in the moment watching the movie, your first thought is always going to be, why'd they get the recordings wrong?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So again, it's one of those things that might not technically be lazy, stupid, or wrong, and yet it feels lazy, stupid, and wrong while you're watching it for the first time.
It's also a kind again, if I didn't know this was 2009, I'd assume this movie was made during the COVID lockdown, because the screenplay is specifically trying to make sure that the characters in each storyline don't interact.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it feels like it was written by a COVID safety officer. It's like, oh well, you got 2 people in this.
We don't
scene
want
already.
more than 4 people in a scene.
You can't have them going over into that storyline. because I guess, and I hadn't thought about this until you said it, that what she says on the tape, like the fact that they know Kyle Reese is out there, but John. So if Kyle Reese dies, John will never exist, right?
Correct.
So.
And that's why Skynet has their sights on Kyle Reese. They know about Kyle.
Yeah.
They have tricked this convict.
Yeah. But that's why those 2 storylines can't overlap, right?
Right.
I guess, or is it?
I mean, the thing is,
he can't interfere with anything to do with Kyle Reese. That's the sense I get, right? Is that the rationale given for why John Connor sits in a room?
Yeah,
for
I was
20
gonna
minutes?
say, see, it's all stupid because the movie is making this assumption that if Kyle Reese even just meets John Connor, well, it's over. You still got plenty of time, even if they meet each other, to try and destroy them and kill them. You have to find them both. So narratively, it doesn't matter whether or not they get together or not. The movie is assuming something that is not true.
Speaking of it's all stupid, I don't know what Skynet's overall plan is.
Well,
it's like, I don't know if they're just trying to blow up a submarine, whether this is some elaborate sting operation. I don't really get what Skynet are doing. I think something's broken at Skynet.
That's what I was just gonna say, because if you're gonna take this convict and turn him into
turn that shit off and on again.
Yeah, like you take a convict who's gonna be put to death, you turn him into an infiltrating robot, but set his mind so that he doesn't realize he's an infiltrating robot. But hey, here's an idea. Why don't you just put a location thing on? There's something within his brain. He sees Kyle Reese.
In the end, it all comes back to Goldfinger. It's just all you need to solve the narrative mystery is a homing signal, right?
I mean,
homing pill and thing in the shoe. You're sorted. I mean, absolute, 100%. You know, yeah. I have nothing more to say about that.
But you like
no.
Well,
I don't know what you're gonna say, but no,
because we have Godzilla Bot.
I don't like. When did I say I like the Godzilla?
I'm not done yet. Hang on, please.
I'm insulted
because Godzilla Bot turns into the chase. And you're saying you like the chase.
Oh, again, that was a reach. There was what I mean is there was a few moments where I was able to sort of tune out of the god awfulness, and think, yeah, this is kind of like what.
Because even the chase to me, I just
thought.
I
know, it's not good, but it's like yeah, I guess that could have been in a Terminator movie. Yeah, it's a truck chase. It's again before this cavalcade of comedic errors. Just like turns it into pure cartoon video
Well, and here's a question.
Nonsense.
I mean, Skynet captures Kyle Reese. That's the goal for the whole fucking movie, but they don't kill him? What's the reason for not killing him? They're trying to lure
John? It's an elaborate sting operation, apparently. Or at least it is until about with 10 minutes of the movie to go before they tell us it's something else.
I don't just kill him. Kill him.
Right.
You kill him, John Connor never exists. Right?
Right. Yeah.
So it would be like Back to the Future picture. He would just disappear.
Yeah.
You're done.
I'm sure McGee would find a way to fuck up that visual too. It'd be, I don't know, like a... I don't know what the 2009...
That really stood out to me on this viewing.
A hologram. It would be a hologram disappearing.
I was so offended that he just didn't die. Kill him. Kill him now.
Kyle Reese?
Yeah. You have him.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
What reason do you have to not kill him? I can't even remember the reason they give us now. Obviously, it was too weak and stupid of a reason.
Not big on telling us... Right. No, here's the tone of this movie, okay?
Okay. Yeah.
It's either telling us far too much or far too little. Things we need to know about, tight-lipped.
Yeah.
When it's stuff that we haven't even considered that we want to know about, it goes to town.
We get so much.
Hence the machines with organs line.
Yeah.
It's just that's the tone of this movie, really.
Well,
I mean, by the time we get to the end of the movie, we people speak in pure stupid people ADR.
Yeah.
at one point someone says, "Let's get out of here." It's like, yeah, when you're seriously wounded in a Terminator factory, that's what you do. You don't need to say it to another
just do it.
person so that they know to do it.
Yeah, you know what I mean, the perfect example, go back to the first Terminator. I mean,
I'd love to.
Yeah.
Sorry, I went into a nostalgic daydream there. Go on.
Like the second I said it, because the truck blows up.
Yeah.
Kyle and Lyndall Hamilton, Sarah Connor rather, they're hugging, and all of a sudden the machine comes out of the fucking wreckage. You don't hear either one of them say, "Oh shit, we better go."
Yeah.
They run away. They just go.
That's it. And not an expensive movie because it's not about money. This is about what your understanding is of screencraft.
Mm-hmm.
And for McGee, it's
or lack
it's
of
zero.
it. Yeah.
On the evidence of this movie, I'm not going to dismiss all his other movies, even though I absolutely could with vindication. But I'm going to say, on the evidence of this movie, it's like you literally do not know what you're doing with any aspect of your film.
Yeah. Just out of curiosity, do you hate that Charlie's Angels movie?
I don't even know if I've seen them.
Okay.
I suspect I would probably think it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I remember them being fun.
Yeah.
At least the first one.
Yeah, and I don't, yeah.
Because he was like, he was sort of new guy on the scene.
He's such low, I mean, with a name like McGee, such low-hanging fruit.
Right, I know.
And that's why I wanted this movie to be not good, because I knew it wasn't going to be good. Like, I'm not that wrong.
And I meant to ask you this earlier. So you've never seen this movie until watching it for this podcast.
This movie had a bad smell like I've never got from a movie I didn't want to see. I just knew. Maybe it's because of how much I liked Rise of the Machines, because all I could tell from pre-publicity of it was going in exact opposite direction and was almost priding itself on being entirely humorless. And yet they'd hired, rather than like hiring Werner Herzog, or, well, that's unfair. He's a very funny man.
Yeah.
I don't know, Christoph Kostowski or something, like someone who's kind of known for making serious movies. They went with a guy who's kind of known for sort of action comedy of like, well,
right,
this is going to be a disaster.
And
he's called McGee, which is not a thing. So it's he's a living Velveeta man. He's not a thing.
I can't believe how devoid of fun this movie is. Nothing fun or funny happens in this movie ever.
And that's what like really struck me of like, in not to make the Walking Dead comparison too strongly, because there's no reason why this film should be set in this, should get in the same Google search. You know what I mean? It's like it's not part of they're not part of the same fruit basket per se, but.
Look at this. I got a banana, I got an orange, and Staples. It's weird.
But when I think like when the show Walking Dead works best, it's like it's like a piece of quality television drama that is also incredibly schlocky, where heads blow up all the time, and you're like, oh, look at that terrible thing, like. And this, well, it doesn't have any of that, obviously, but
right, yeah.
but if you're gonna be a thing that is purposefully humorless, you need to get the dramatic bit right, and yet there are no
That's the other thing. There's nothing dramatic happening.
You can't write a story or characters, and I can't overestimate this enough. I'm not saying these characters and stories are badly written. I'm saying they are non-existent. Right. That this is not my critique of what. This is not one-dimensional. This is no-dimensional, sub-dimensional writing. And direction.
That's amazing.
I mean, I can't. I've honestly, I have never seen a movie like this. It is. I've never seen anything like this in my life, Mike. The fact that it's a franchise movie is just part of of what's perplexing about it.
Yes, right.
The fact that this could even be like an original movie,
well, and
would baffle me.
It begs the question. Like, I'm not advocating for studio involvement in movies usually, but it does beg the question: were they seeing dailies? Did nobody ever, at a quarter of the way through filming, halfway through filming, did nobody come up to McG and say, "Hey, what the fuck are you doing? None of this makes sense."
Yep. Yeah. There's clear this movie's in this kind of weird state of production value. This sort of like this. I gotta say it. It's this movie has paradoxical production value.
How dare
because you know there's money.
How dare you hit it right
there.
on the nail on the head again?
You know there's money there, but you can see none of it on screen.
You see none of it on screen, exactly.
There's a battle.
I was just thinking the thought, what did they spend $200 million on?
But it's like it's not even that you can't see it. You can sense that the money's there. You just can't put your finger on where it's actually gone, because there's a battle scene later on where I was like, well, I mean, you're gonna need a lot of money to make something of this scale, but this looks like a soundstage from a 1930s movie.
Are you talking about when he escapes?
I think so.
Because that's one of my biggest notes. What you just said is my note exactly.
Okay.
My note exactly is, why does this look like a set built on a soundstage?
Wow. You even said soundstage.
Yes.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
I said, this is not taking place outside, clearly. It looks amateurish, Tom.
I mean, it's like
with every
it makes
shot.
You wonder, like, if Ed Wood had this kind of resources, what would he would like? It would be like the most fantastic thing you'd ever seen. But he doesn't, and he does his wooden crap. But it's great looking wooden crap.
Every single shot.
But McGee's wooden crap is just wooden crap.
Every single shot in that scene begs the question, like, what you're watching on screen, you can almost see on screen that 2 seconds before somebody was in a running motion and then heard, all right, action. And like, it's like you could see it forming. It's bizarre how inept it is.
I don't know why, but I suddenly haven't. No, I know exactly why, but I have an image of McGee like what's the name of the Baron from Dune? The good Dune, the original one with the David Lynch Dune. You know, the really disgusting Baron. This is gonna piss off so many people.
The fat guy?
Yeah. Anyway, because he's
I don't remember.
He's like I imagine he directs like that way that character is shown in David Lynch's Dune. Like he's just hovering,
right?
He's like hovering in midair with his, and he is a redhead as well. Maybe that's why I'm getting the image, and just like hovering in and going, cooler.
Yeah, exactly right.
More stupid.
Remember, guys, make it cool. Well, let's take it back to Batman and Robin. It was Joel Schumacher who said, remember, everyone, we're making a cartoon.
And that would have been fine.
For this movie?
Yeah, because, well, I think one of the big problems of this movie is it's not leaning into anything recognizable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Filmically.
Right. We don't have a reference point. We don't have a true north.
Yeah, it doesn't. This movie doesn't lean. It either falls.
Yeah, exactly.
Or
stumbles.
Stands on its own weird pedestal made of cheese.
This movie is drunk at all times.
Made of this weird pedestal made of soft cheese.
Yeah.
Or it's
Velveeta.
lying face flat in a specific reference to a movie or a genre. Or like, or the imagery of the series, I guess, is the other thing that,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
you just occasionally, like literally Sam Worthington goes around, he's in his own story, often without any characters that we've ever seen in a Terminator movie before, and it's like, oh, there's Kyle Reese. I've just met Kyle Reese.
Yeah.
Bye. You know, it's like fucking. It's like there's like a Terminator museum that characters are like
Yes.
walking in and out of. Like this is some sort of immersive theater piece.
All right, let's take another break, and then we'll come back.
Then I want to talk about Common. We need to
Okay.
set time aside to talk.
So we'll
about
set time
Common.
aside for Common, sir. All right. Right after this. If you like podcasts like I do, boy, do I have a treat for you. You need to
Stay on target.
and check out the Sounds in Cinema podcast. Listen as your host, sound designer and music creator Tony Parham, and co-host, musical performer and sound lover Derek Hansen, D-Rock if you're nasty, and I am, discuss all things sound related to film, television, stage, and theatrical productions. They discuss environmental sounds, bioacoustics, dialogue, the nature of communication through sound, but as an added bonus, they drink beer and try to
Stay on target.
find them wherever you get your podcasts and listen to the pure mania of a man who can charitably be described as Doug, the dog from Up, and another man with a soothing and sultry voice trying to get that man to
Stay on target.
That's the Sounds in Cinema podcast. Tune in and listen to the sounds they are creating just for you. All right, we are back once again, ladies and gentlemen. Tom and I are here, struggling to the finish line of Terminator Salvation. Now, you were telling me you had to get something in on Common. Do you want to do that now, or is this...
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
Well, first of all, when the in quotation marks actor Common
Playing Barnes.
gives a report, because he's a resistance soldier, of course.
Yes.
As soon as he speaks, it sounds like one of those TED Talk style raps he does nowadays. Don't you think? And the thing that, you know, again, I blame McG. He's called Barnes, and every time anyone talks to him, they say his name.
Yeah.
Now, is this because McG cannot comprehend the idea that someone famous for something else will not be recognized as that person when they're in a movie?
Right.
Is this like Tom Jones in Mars Attacks? You know, he can only be Tom Jones. Like, McG is like, you gotta say his name every time, because if it's not, people think this is actually post-apocalyptic Common. I don't even know how big Common was in 2009.
I have no idea.
But that's another bizarre, like, again, I either know too much about these people or
Not enough. Right, yeah.
Never just enough. Never just enough. That's all I had to say about Common in this movie.
What do you make of... I mean, so...
It's a good question, even without the verb.
Right? What? So much of this movie hinges on this box they create that they think is going to have the right frequency to destroy their planes and
Yes.
nonsense.
Hmm.
But again, like everything else in this movie, I don't think we even learn about this until at least beyond halfway through the movie. We get one scene where they test it, and the next thing you know, John Connor's breaking into Skynet.
Right.
Which seems egregiously stupid.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you're a human, don't go near their factory.
Right, or just go there. Again, like
Right, yeah.
there's two story options here. Somehow this movie has managed to do both and neither.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. The thing that was most egregious for me when they get to Skynet is that, you know, any semblance of originality just kind of dies in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
When they get to Skynet, it is the opening of Blade Runner. No more, no less. Right? If you told me that was a shot from Blade Runner, I'd be like, yeah.
Yeah, I believe you.
Absolutely. Then we're into Mission Impossible like the first Mission Impossible, descending from the ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
And this movie is almost like priding itself on these references. As if it's like, well, we've run out of ideas, but at least we've got all this kind of shit-hot Hollywood intertextuality to play with. Well, no, that's never been a part of Terminator.
See, I almost feel like it's the opposite. I think that it's a deal where McG says, I'm going to have you, going upside down on this line, sneaking in. It's going to be so cool, bro. It's going to be so cool. And Christian Bale probably said something like, so like Mission Impossible? No. I like Mission Impossible. No. This is like he'd probably never seen it, doesn't know anything about it. He just thought he was coming up with the coolest fucking thing.
It is not a video game.
Right.
You know, so he may not have seen it.
No books, no movies.
I tell you what movie McG has seen, and I can tell you what his favorite scene in the movie is.
Based on this movie.
Star Wars Attack of the Clones, and his favorite scene is the droid factory scene. Everything about that assembly line sequence tells me, which, not coincidentally, is the most video game scene in that entire movie, possibly the Star Wars franchise.
Right.
And it fascinates, and you know, there is a moment in Skynet that, and I said this off air, like, I kind of admire it if it was done for the reason that I'd like to hope it was done for. But I know for sure it wasn't, so I can't admire it. Which is when McG, Joseph McKinty-Nicol, makes the directorial choice to turn the movie off for a second, like a TV set, when Sam Worthington plugs in to Skynet.
Right. And
for 1 second I thought, is McG trolling the haters here?
No way. No.
Is he like Lars von Trier, sort of like viewer punishment? But no, you're right, he's not. He probably thinks that's a really cool effect.
Mm-hmm.
And, well, we're not going chronologically here, but we've kind of circled around to Digiani.
Yeah, I mean, we have Digiani. We have somehow Sam Worthington is now fixed and in a hospital gown after he was blown apart by a mine.
Oh, yeah, that's... I had a note that the line, he stepped on a landmine, I only want to hear that said by a coroner, or it's not in the movie.
Right. Exactly.
If you say that, the person has to be dead.
They have to be gone.
Also, how contrived do you and separate do your storylines have to be for a landmine to be the only reason that he and John Connor interact?
Mm-hmm. Well,
literally, if that landmine wasn't there, he would have gone over the horizon.
Well, and how
never
how
seen
much,
again.
How much of a lack of cohesion does there have to be in your movie to have computer-generated Helena Bonham Carter have a 5-minute exposition dump explaining what we probably could have figured out for ourselves anyway? You know what I mean?
Right.
They think this is the clever reveal of what we've already figured out for ourselves.
If that character was introduced when the first and last time we saw her, which was before this movie began.
Right.
Or the second time before this movie began, or whatever. Yeah. So, Digiani.
Yes, and then we get to Digiani.
So, I mean, I remember, I don't know if you remember the same, but I think one of the biggest, I guess, drawbacks for me about seeing this movie, and I think something that perhaps maybe because of response to Terminator 3, I don't know, but their movie was also almost priding itself on was this was the first post-Arnie Terminator movie.
Mm-hmm.
And yet...
And there was no chance because he was doing governor shit for California.
Which in and of itself should have been a clue that he was absolutely going to have time to spend an afternoon in, I'm sure, a California effects studio, having his body digitally rendered, right?
But that's the thing. He never did anything for this movie. I mean, they literally just came up.
Oh, they didn't even use his body?
No.
Okay. So it's just a picture. So he's basically, it's a guy wearing an Arnie mask. In a digital sense.
Yes.
But I'm sure I read something that they used his image.
I mean, I don't know enough about the effects to know whether or not you can look at a picture of him.
I think he at least posed.
I don't think he did.
Okay. Did he just give his permission for his likeness to be used?
Yeah, I think that was the extent of it.
Which explains why it's the 80s model, because there's no other reason it has to be. But then again, it's like suddenly this movie is lurched into fan service out of after giving it literally actually
after doing nothing for
underserving fandom.
Yeah, right.
For the entirety of the movie, suddenly we get too much of it in a way that no fan could possibly be happy with.
It's one
partly
of those
because we're still in Uncanny Valley. We're at the bottom of Uncanny Valley here. I was going to say, we're at the bottom of the ravine. There is also a ravine in this movie, which reminded me of both the pod race sequence from Star Wars The Phantom Menace and the missile sequence from Superman 3. You know, all the best stuff from sequels. Carry on, sorry.
I do remember saying, who is it? Is it Sam Worthington that gets dumped into that ravine? Or
I think so.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, robot or not, you're smashed to shit going at that speed.
I think there was a literal moment in this movie where Sam Worthington is treading water. Both narratively and literally.
Yeah. But it's funny with Digiarni because they present it as this huge reveal. Hey, fans, check this shit out.
Right.
But they recognize how shitty it looks, so they blow off his skin within a matter of 45 seconds.
It's really, yeah. It's also, I guess you could say, it's like going back. That it works. It's going back to the well in more ways than one. You know, it's like in the same way that Terminator 2 was all about showing off the latest technology. They're trying to say, like, what's the most cutting edge thing we could try? Let's do it. But the difference being, it doesn't work, and is only starting to barely work now.
Mm-hmm.
So I think in this last segment, if you want to call it that, I mean, why not? The screenplay isn't divided into any other way I can possibly.
Yeah, right.
They're just going full on, like, okay, we want legacy in this. We want old Hollywood. We want Terminator. Just everything. Just throw it all at them.
Mm-hmm.
But literally, just throw it all at them, not in any kind of coherent way. And I'm sure we're going to have problems with Genesis-wise, but Genesis-wise sets its stall out pretty early on that's what it's going to do throughout the entirety of the movie.
Yeah.
And if it achieves anything, it achieves that.
Yes.
So I guess as
but
well.
Also,
like,
narratively,
it's funny that
like
you
nothing
can't...
makes sense in this movie.
No.
If I don't know why you're not killing Kyle Reese. If it's just to bring in John Connor, whatever, fine. But again, you kill him, John Connor doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
But you bring in John Connor, and you send only one Arnold after him.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense.
No.
You know? So, like,
and in the end, it's like in what's this? This is the fourth movie, right?
Correct.
We've still not come up with a better ending than fighting a metal man in a boiler room.
Yeah, right.
That's what all these movies come down to.
And this one's just a clean boiler room. That's the only difference.
Because McG hasn't done his set design work.
Yeah.
It's like, Mr. McNichol is McG. McG, we really need that you to sign off on those set design changes because this is looking a little sanitized here. We need to fill out this room a little bit. Yeah. I'll get it to you in the morning.
Soon.
And then
soon.
he disappears on his hover chair.
One of those segways.
Injects himself with something that makes him sound like a rapper.
Now, here's my last question. One, I don't believe for a second that Sam Worthington's journey through this movie makes me believe he would give away his heart. Two, nobody even seems to ask the question, are these two even a blood type match? Can his heart go into his chest? Nobody is asking the pertinent questions.
I thought of you when they hotwired the heart because I thought that would be like that's the lost 80s hit, Hotwire Heart.
That's great.
Could see that being a big hit for Springsteen.
Yeah.
It's so stupid. It's like a preteen child wrote this movie.
Exactly.
The blood type thing is like, I mean, a high school student could figure that out. Also, the fact that like when you see the hot wiring of the heart, like visually, it's a cross between jumper cables and heart pads.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like well, he's half machine, half man, so let's split the difference. I mean that's it, right? That's the logic that ends up with that image.
Oh, it's terrible.
And then you have to have like a cut of the camera moving down of him looking at his robot heart.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, fucking hell! Like we've seen movies. We know, like, if it's in the shot, I'll find it. Unless your lighting's terrible, which it normally is.
Which it also is, yes.
Or I can't hear the dialogue, which I often can't. Basically, an audio decision needed to have been made at some point in this movie. Like, are we going to try and match Christian Bale? Or are we going to tell Christian Bale to be quiet? Obviously, the latter decision didn't go down too well.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. There are moments...
I think we know what the outcome was.
There was a moment during Sam Worthington's, I can't even remember that character's name, Marcus Wright's...
Right.
Yeah,
yes.
Marcus Wright's escape. When he's in the water and all the robots are coming and then they kind of kill them together. And out of nowhere... Christian Bale yells, "What are you?"
Yeah. I have that. So why is Bale screaming?
Why is he yelling?
Shouting his dialogue?
Yeah.
I mean, it's from the
and
Michael
then
Caine,
Sam
Al
Worthington
Pacino
goes
school on
super
contextual
quiet.
shouting.
Sam Worthington goes super quiet. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like let's find the graphic equalizer here.
God damn it.
We need to get room tone.
Yeah,
okay?
right?
In the audio, everyone needs to either get loud or. But once you get loud, you can't suddenly go quiet.
You have to respond. Are you listening?
Then there's call back to one of the movies we've covered. The Terminator's decapitated as if it's either a zombie or a Highlander.
Mm-hmm.
It's like. again, I see McGee coming in on his hover chair and saying, "Is it time travel-y? Yeah. Is it like a monster movie? Yeah. My work is done." You know, it's just settling. It's the residue of settling. He
just looked over to the second unit director and said, "All right, just take a picture there of that head coming off. I'm out of here."
Oh my god. Yeah.
And we didn't talk about this, but of course we have the obligatory lava kind of covered hot hand giving him his scars.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what I mean. Like you have this. You have the idea of paradox-based storytelling to play with, and in the end, you decide the best use of that is origin story, like dramatic irony.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's the origin of that one. That's how he got his scar.
Everyone satisfied? You should be. This is
how
genius.
Because I spent the entirety of Terminator thinking, where did Kyle get that coat? In the future. And then it's like, again, like after refusing to be a Terminator movie, it sort of ends in the most Terminator way possible with a voiceover monologue.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, we've tried every other signpost of a bad movie. Why not run with this one?
Let's go.
And I can't. You know what? I can't even. I have a note here that, and again, this is voiceover, and one of the things that you want in a voiceover is to be able to hear what they're saying. And I don't know whether he says raises on or rages on.
There is a storm on the horizon, a time of hardship and pain. This battle has been won, but the war against the machines rages on.
Wow.
Because like it should be, probably rages, right?
Yeah, right.
But I have listened back to that moment, and I guarantee you he's saying raises. I've even tried to like walk it through Welsh, because Christian Bale's Welsh, so
yeah,
rages, but rages, but it doesn't, you know. And you mentioned earlier something that was interesting. No, I mean everything you say is interesting, but I just,
well, thank you.
I just kind of, I put it in the mental hot pocket, and sort of to bring back to
microwave it and tell me what's going.
And you mentioned it's like, a lot of times in this movie you were thinking this is actually a movie that needs studio involvement.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually think this is a series that could do with more studio involvement sometimes.
Maybe.
Because they, like, we've talked before about how certain franchise movies have screwed whoever the person taking over is by being too specific.
Do something with this.
Yeah. But this franchise does the opposite. Mm-hmm. This franchise, it just ends. They all end in just these really vague ways that let us know they're angling for a sequel, but give no clue as to what that sequel
where it
could
should
possibly be.
Yeah.
So this is one time where I think the studios have said, actually, we want you to say, okay, we want you to put something concrete in there, so that there's a basis for the next movie. And then
which we will not make
this. And this is the most egregious one.
Yeah.
Also because it's a final note of directorial incompetence, because the voiceover is it's one because John has been communicating via radio messages for the
throughout the whole movie, right?
And this is one of those messages.
It's one of those messages.
Except he's recorded it as if it's a voiceover in the studio.
Yeah, right.
So, if you just needed that extra reminder that this is a movie that in the words of Joe Pesci in Casino, could fuck up a cup of coffee. This is it.
It's great.
Literally the easy. I mean, I could do it on fucking iMovie right now and give you a better radio sounding message than the one he gets.
Right. I feel I'm done with this movie. Do you have anything left beyond a credit check?
I hate to tell you this, but you're not. Yeah, I have a few. I've gone through some of them already, so it won't be too burdensome. But yeah, the credits are inept. Also, 2 in memoriams back to back.
Right.
I feel like one cancels the other out. So my note was McG can't even do credits right. And I really don't mean to be rude or offensive.
Too late.
But I have never seen such a collection of made-up sounding names in my lifetime. If you want to laugh, put on Terminator Salvation, scan to 10 minutes before the end, Grievance, and watch the. You will see names of the like you have not seen before or again.
More egregious than McG?
Yeah, McG is just the tip of the iceberg.
Wow.
This is what I mean about, overlong credits being a grievance. The credit second assistant auditors is a credit I see with 5 minutes of credits still remaining. That's already too many credits. We haven't even got to the effects houses yet.
Oh, no. That was hot and heavy.
I think McG handpicks every company that he works with on a movie. Because here's a couple of the names of various companies that worked on this movie. She's Crafty. It's the name of the craft services. Clearances by Now Clear This. I see his fingerprints on that.
Yeah.
I see his dirty June fingerprints on that. His little bulbous pustule fingers on there. There are so many different effects houses involved in this movie. In a sense, it's a miracle that any of the effects in this movie look like the other. Like, literally...
Well, they all have one thing in common. They don't look great.
They don't look... Yeah. I'm going for a different kind of effects consistency.
Yeah.
Just different kinds of badness, but all at the same level. Yeah, that's all I have.
All right. Well.
Oh, and we didn't even mention. I just it's, and this is a kind of series note really, but after 2 movies in which we sort of built up the kind of badass / heroic quality of women, this movie is just white male messiah.
Right.
101.
Yeah, you're right.
That was all.
I mean,
Bryce
Dallas Howard in the role of Kate is a nothing character.
Yep.
She has nothing to do.
Nope.
Which again leads me to say,
when women,
why'd she say yes?
And women are also depicted as just kind of throwing themselves at any man who's walking by. When they are represented, which is never.
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 All right. Well, you're going to have to tell us what you think, ladies and gentlemen. Tom and I, not fans. Terminator Salvation. We have a grudge against this movie and McG. You're going to have to find us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter to let us know, have we hit the mark or are we off the mark? Send us an email to everythingsequel@gmail.com. For Tom Stewart of Lonesome Whistle Productions, Michael Shantz here of the How Dare You Awards. Tune in next week. We're going to be, tune into the next episode. We'll be back with...
Might be next week.
Yeah, Terminator Genesis. What do you call it?
Genesis-wise.
Genesis-wise.
It's the origin story of Dennis Wise from The Wire.
Excellent. All right, say goodbye, Tom.
Relax, I just want some body heat. Is a line from this movie.
Yep.
Not a lot of good lines in this movie.
There's a similar line.
There's no fucking quotables. It's even failing to provide me with quotables.
I can't even find a good quotable.
Here's one that was on the short list. Remarks: It's Connor. It's stupid. It's not funny. Not interesting. It's stupid.
He said stupid twice. Whoa, that's fantastic. All right. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back next time. with another Terminator movie.